My name is Dr. Chelsea, and I am the program manager for Gateway to the Rockies, Region 10 Opioid Abatement Council. This is our first advisory committee meeting that is official. People have been voted in. So let's go ahead and just start with some introductions. If you want to give us your name and your subject matter expertise, what county you're primarily representing. Yeah, I will go ahead and we'll just go down the line. Let's start with Brian T.
Hey everybody, my name is Brian Tierney. I'm representative from the Jefferson County area. I'm a person in long-term and sustained recovery, and I've also been working in SUD or substance use disorder treatment for the coming on about 10 years now. I currently function as the executive director for Cure West, which is a detox level of care. So yeah, I guess that's a little bit about me and what I do.
Thanks, Brian. Sean.
All right, good morning. I'm Sean Henley. I am the Chief Administrative Officer at Red Rock Recovery Center. I'm also in long-term recovery, and I've been serving as an advisory member, I think since the beginning of 2025. So yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you. Do we have Sean Plume in the room? All right, we will go ahead and go to Amber Qatar. I don't think she's with us either. Dr. Kat is not here. Linda.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Before I introduce myself, I'm wondering, Chelsea, will we be able to share contact information with some of the other folks on the advisory if people are okay with that? I just already heard a couple of people's bios that makes me want to be in touch with them, to collaborate or whatever. So I was just wondering if that's possible.
Yeah, you are all in that email group together. So that's the first way. But if you want to drop their email in the chat when they do their introduction, that way people can reach out on their own. That would be great.
Fantastic. Well, my name is Linda Berenger, and I'm the executive director of Just Living Recovery in Lakewood. We're a sober living home, primarily focused on people in the LGBTQ community and BIPOC community. And I already said I'm the executive director, but I'm also in long-term recovery as well. My area of expertise is I've been working around the issue of homelessness in Jefferson County predominantly, but the entire metro area for a long time, very long time. So I do have some expertise in that area. Just Living serves every county, so it is located in Lakewood, but we're open to people from anywhere, including we have a few people from out of state. Because of our unique focus, people search us out. So anyway, I'm glad to be a part of this advisory group.
And then I know Lori Buckle could not join us today, so we'll go to Erica Hack.
Hi, Erica Haig. I am I'm on the board, chair of the board for Resilience 1220 here in Evergreen. I live in Clear Creek County. I'm also on the school board for Clear Creek County. My specialty and how I come to this is kind of youth mental health, and so it's primarily in the prevention area as it pertains to GROC.
Thank you so much. Is Bobby Putnam with us? And then I know Brittany Noble could not join. Terry Breitweiser. Andrea Turk.
Good morning. I'm Andrea Turk. I'm the Director of Recovery Services at Jefferson Center. And so we serve Gilpin, Clear Creek, and Jefferson County. I oversee Jefferson Center's substance use disorder continuum, including outpatient, our women's recovery house, which is sober living, and our adult and youth residential 3.5 level of care. And soon we'll be overseeing our withdrawal management facility, as well as our walk-in crisis.
Thank you, Sharon Hawkins.
Good morning. I'm Sharon Hawkins. I am the substance prevention coordinator for Jefferson County Schools.
Sunny. I saw Sunny. Oh, you're muted.
I know. I'm trying to find the mute button. Okay. I'm Sunny Vincent. I'm the Director of Teaching and Learning at Clear Creek School District, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to join the board this year.
Thank you. Kevin Mayer.
Morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Meyer. I'm a community paramedic and firefighter with West Metro Fire Rescue. I work in our mobile integrated health subdivision within EMS. And have kind of been involved with the council since it started, and am re-engaging at this point after kind of falling out with representing our agency. So I'll basically be the delegate from West Metro.
Thank you. Did anybody come in late that I missed, or anyone I did not call? Perfect. So I did share out the draft handbook for the advisory committee. So I hope you all had a chance to review that. It has not yet been officially adopted. My goal is to get it in front of the executive committee at the November 3rd meeting. That way we have a little bit more time just to finalize it, make sure it has everything that we want to have in it. So there was a how to use this document, why we chose the advisory committee structure. Let me backpedal. People like acronyms, so I came up with the acronym of GRACE, GROC Regional Advisory Committee for Excellence. Is everyone okay with that? I'm open to opinions. Cool. Easygoing group. And so there is a little bit on why we chose a committee structure versus a board structure or a council structure. So the board structures suggest an independent governance authority, and that would not be the case. The advisory committee is underneath the IGA, the MOU, and then the GROC bylaws. We went not with the council because this could imply a competing decision-making power. So the advisory committee does not have decision-making power. We will often do votes, but they will be like for the sake of just easy terminology here. But when they get presented to the executive committee and the full council, it will be presented as a recommendation. And then it's ultimately up to the voting members on how they would like to do that formal vote. Does everyone understand that? Okay. So that would make us a committee. The structure provides flexibility needed to adapt our approach as regional needs evolve, while ensuring that diverse stakeholder voices, from government representatives to community leaders, clinical experts, can meaningfully contribute to the opioid crisis in Region 10. And then there's a section more on like the policy of the IGA that differentiates the non-voting members from the voting members, the discretionary non-voting members from the non-discretionary voting members. So just a quick recap. I think most of you have heard me say this before. Discretionary members could be anybody from the community, and they have to be nominated by a voting member, voted on by all of the voting members, and they have a 2-year term limit, but there is no limit to the number of consecutive terms they can serve. Non-discretionary members are representatives from school districts, and fire districts with populations of 25,000 or more. And they are appointed by the county commissioner of the county in GROC. So Sharon, being Jefferson County, is appointed by Commissioner Dahl Kemper. Sunny, being Clear Creek County, is appointed by Commissioner Marlin. And there's no term limit for these folks. Any questions on the difference between discretionary and non-discretionary? Is that making sense? Okay. There's no other difference really besides the label and how you're voted on. Then unique to GROC is that we also include our grantees as advisory committee members. They are not required to be here. It's completely optional in addition to their mandatory quarterly learning forum. And then some groups have a service area meeting. So like all of our grantees who service Clear Creek have a meeting. They have one mandatory meeting at their onboarding, and then that group can vote how regularly they want to meet. And then we also have funding area groups that they are required to attend at their onboarding. And then again, they can have any number of meetings that they choose to have throughout the course of their award. I did see Terry come in. I'll give them a minute. And then Terry, if you want to just do a brief introduction.
Sure. Sorry about being late.
No worries.
Terry Brightweiser. I've been a medical technologist, laboratory operations director, career field since the 80s. With the healthcare reform back in 2010-11, I really started setting up addiction and physician pain management addiction centers and testings. So I have a lot of experience of seeing it from the inside as a testing professional in the laboratory, doing a lot of legal cases and all the damage that it causes. So that's kind of my situation of exposure to this epidemic.
Awesome. And then can you remind me which county you are primarily representing?
Myself, yes. I live in Gilpin County.
Okay. Beautiful. Thank you. Let me go back to the handbook. I guess this would be our first recommendation that we get to do. There are 19 participating local governments within Region 10. So that would be like the city of Arvada, the city of Blackhawk, city of Bomar, Central City, Clear Creek County as a whole, city of Edgewater, Empire, Georgetown, Gilpin County as a whole, city of Golden, Idaho Springs, Jefferson County, city of Lakewood, Littleton, Morrison, Mountain View, Silver Plume, Westminster, and Wheat Ridge. Would we want to add representation from the participating local governments on the advisory committee? And my thought was that they would just have, like our grantees, is that they would just have a spot. That way we don't have to go through the process of nominating and voting them on. Floor is open for discussion.
So Chelsea, would we just go out to those municipalities and invite somebody? Or
I already
work?
I already have contact with them. The state COAC, Colorado Opioid Abatement Council, has this long-term vision of the regional councils serving as kind of like a beacon within opioid settlement funding. So like when there's new settlement forms, they would like the program managers of the regional councils to kind of like lead that discussion and encourage people to participate, make sure they submit their forms on time. If they have generic questions about appropriate uses, that kind of talk to the regional councils before going to the state. So I already have contact with all of those folks. Sean.
First, just a question. Has it been, or was there a discussion about why they haven't been involved at this capacity in the past, or is it just that this is kind of the next step in development? It hasn't been considered yet.
It's been a human capital issue. So right before my position was created in October of 24. And before that, it was an external consulting firm. And they were pretty limited in what they could do in terms of council facilitation, just because they were not county employees. And so I am a Jefferson County employee. Jefferson County is the fiscal agent for GROC. So that gives me a lot more just access to get things done. And then this is also my full-time job. So it's really just been a human capital issue.
Oh, sorry. Well, thanks for that background. I mean, I personally, just given my very short experience, being a committee member up until now, I feel like it wouldn't hurt. It seems like there's not a lot of well-informed people about, when it comes to everything that all the various people who make the committee up do and all the things that are being done to try to address this issue. So I think just bringing that information to light and having another forum for doing that seems like a good thing to me.
Thank you. Any other comments, concerns, questions? So would it be safe to say, oh, Kevin, thank you.
Yeah, I agree, Sean. I just wanted to add in really actively interacting with at least all of the municipalities within West Metro's district and the affiliated law enforcement agencies and all the other service provision agencies. If only to create a more formal conduit for the flow of information, I think it really should happen.
I agree. My initial thought was to have them, they just like have a spot on the advisory committee. That way we don't have to take up time to vote them in, vote them off. And city people have a lot of rotation. Like I want to say almost every participating local government has like 4 people that are like points of contact. So that way it just allows them freedom to come and go, but really for us to learn how they're using their local share of settlement funds so that the region doesn't duplicate efforts. Or if they have projects that they have like partial funding for, or they need bridge funding, that the regional council can be more intentional and not creating new things, but funding things that are already in existence or improving them to make them better. And so having them in this space would, like Kevin said, just allow that conduit to be more free flowing. So would it be safe to say that this group would like to make a recommendation to the executive committee, who would then make a recommendation to the full council to include participating local governments without vote in the advisory committee? All right, thank you. Okay, so then we are going to jump into the 2026 calendaring, and I will explain kind of where I was going with this structure. Research on community advisory committees is pretty clear that when they don't have their own meeting, they are less likely to contribute to conversation. Sometimes it could be fear in their comments not being heard or falling on deaf ears, not being understood, not propelling the conversation forward, or just meetings being too clustered with policy that they don't have a chance to voice their opinions. And so I would like to pull the advisory committee out to meet the first week of the month, where we go through the agendas for the executive committee and the full council, and you give us your opinions. This is a space entirely for you to speak. And then I would carry that information into the executive committee meeting, which meets the second Monday of the month. And then that information would be carried forward to the full council meeting on the fourth Monday of the month. That would also limit this group's time commitment to just 1 hour per month. If you want to attend the executive committee meeting and the full council meeting, you're more than welcome to. But again, my goal is to have those agendas very much mirror each other. So whatever we talk about here in the advisory committee meeting is carried all the way through. So I did just put like the first Monday of the month. But we can make this like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If people work, I know most people don't work on Fridays. But yeah, so do you have any questions on kind of like my thought on that structure? Is that sounding logical?
I like it. I think it makes a lot of sense. Will we be able to talk about the time if we do keep it on the Monday? Because as we talked about, I had to sneak out of a meeting to attend here.
Yes. So like I said, I had just kind of put the first Monday of the month, but we can make this as long as it's the first week of the month. That way, again, this group comes first to provide input on the other two agendas. Brian.
I was just gonna speak in favor of potentially moving it not on Mondays. Mondays are a pretty busy day coming in from the weekend and getting caught up on things, and I have a lot of standing meetings on Mondays. I don't know what everyone else's schedule. I'll accommodate whatever the group needs it to be, but just wanted to throw it out there. Thursday would be great. That's a much better day for a meeting for me. But again, whatever is best for the whole group, but just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, Mondays honestly suck for me. But the executive committee and full council meet on Monday, so I just kind of kept it in the spirit of that. But Thursdays work great for me. How's that look for everyone else?
What time are you thinking, Chelsea?
I don't know. I just got to the day. I am like a 10 to 7 kind of worker. This is like really early for me. But if people need to meet earlier on Thursdays, we can do that. So it sounds like we're good on Thursdays.
It would need to be done by 11. So if we could do 10 at the earliest, 10 to 11, that would work for me.
How's that work for everyone else?
Yes, mornings are better for me. I have standing meetings in the afternoon, so I could do any time generally in the morning.
Oh,
10
the
works.
first. Okay. Oh, the first Thursday of January. Can you skip holidays, please? We are not going to meet on January 1st. I know most people are off that day. Oh, it's not counting that as a holiday. Okay, I will look at the calendar for this one because that won't work, but we will make that on Thursday. And I will work on getting a calendar invite out to everyone. Trying to see if there's any other holidays that come up. Or if there's any dates that people know for certain. Should we move the July meeting because that's July 2nd? Or are people okay with that?
I like the idea of moving it if others do.
Okay. I will work to move those. And we are in October. And then we said 10 a.m. Beautiful. So now I wanted to preview the upcoming agendas with you folks to get your feedback. And I only have the executive committee. I do have the executive committee meeting for October 6th and the full council meeting for November 10th. I do not have the executive committee agenda for November 3rd. There just hasn't been stuff to come up for that. And I will basically just go through this with you guys and get some feedback. So we'll do welcome and attendance, the general updates. Our new website is launched. This is just kind of like an FYI. So please go take a look at that. It is, there's still some transfer that has to be done. We're doing our official handoff on Wednesday. So there are some links that might not be active yet, or just some information that is missing. But please go take a look at that. We can do so much more cool stuff with it. There is a question on how we can increase engagement among full council members and the executive committee. And so part of that is, like I said, this structured advisory executive full council, trying to get more delegation and review to the executive committee. But that is just going to be an open floor discussion to see what they have to tell me to give them more information. Also, like I said, I started in October and I've really been playing catch up this entire year. And so I'm finally getting to the point where I can think ahead. And so my goal is to have meeting materials given to people 1 week in advance for them to preview. And I hope that will also help with discussion. Sometimes meeting materials have been going out on like Friday for the meeting on Monday, but most folks don't work on Friday or they're in meetings all day. And so they haven't had a chance to review it. And then we're reviewing it together in the meeting, which I think is just hindering engagement. But I'm totally open to feedback on that. There will be a discussion on the executive committee resolution, primarily identifying commissioners by position. And I would like to get some feedback here. So when this was first drafted, it was by individual name. And so the voting members have to nominate and vote an executive committee member on. And it was initially by name. So Commissioner Dahlkemper, Commissioner Marling, Commissioner Hollingsworth, Michael Miller, who used to be the representative for public health in Jefferson County. That then changed to Dr. Story, his supervisor, and Michael Miller is the alternate. But with Dr. Story's time commitment as the director of public health, they did request that Michael Miller stay on the executive committee. So that's kind of like that weird transition. Marie Larson from Gilpin County Public Health. Mayor Bud Starker is Jefferson County rotating city rep. Dr. Ryan is Clear Creek Public Health. Then the GROC program manager, I am not named by name. I intentionally chose that just to mitigate someone showing, if I were to leave, the next person coming in, they don't have to go through this big amendment. They're already on the executive committee. And then this used to say Chris Habgood, who was the fiscal contact. So the individual who acts on behalf of the fiscal agent. But Chris is now supported by Amber Dower and Andrea. I'm not sure of her last name. So I did request that they change this to, again, a position to allow that team more flexibility in who shows up. So the commissioners would like to change the wording here, specifically to identify the position of Jefferson County Commissioner, Clear Creek Commissioner, Gilpin County Commissioner, instead of by name, regardless of who that individual would be. This to me makes a lot of sense for the Jefferson County Commissioner, because Jefferson County is the fiscal agent, that this commissioner needs to be on the executive committee, because they do a lot of those policy and operation stuff to help me get my job done. And then for these folks, it's Sandy's opinion on this is that commissioners are decision-making powers, and so they have more authority within the county to make decisions or get things done than, let's say, the director of public health. So there's going to be a big conversation about, do we want to change this? The executive committee would make a recommendation. The full council has to vote on it. Do you guys have any opinions on this or any questions about the history?
I have a question about the history, and so how this committee, the executive committee, how did these particular people or positions come to be? Was that a directive from the opioid?
No. So this is
Okay.
unique. Yeah, this is unique to Region 10. There was a resolution establishing the executive committee made to the bylaws. And that came from a 16-member voting structure, is just very large, and time commitments with people's full-time jobs. They didn't have the time to dedicate to GROC. So they voted to have an executive committee who would do a lot of that initial review or heavy lifting. They have limited delegatory authority. So they can approve modifications to the award budget that do not result in an increase in the total award amount, such as moving money from one existing budget category to another, or moving the reimbursement of new expense categories where such modification would not result in an increase in total award. They can do like a zero additional cost contract extension. They can approve changes to the scope of services that do not involve an increase of the award. And then, yeah, they don't have a lot of decision-making power right now. We did delegate the advisory committee handbook and what else was it? The grantee playbook. So the executive committee would do the initial review, and they would like nitpick things that they want to change. And once it's how the executive committee wants it, then it would go to full council, and full council would approve it.
Well, so just a final comment on that. So it appears that there was obviously some thought put into who should be in that executive committee, like who's not who by name, but what they're representing, like the health department and the commissioners and your position and that sort of thing. So you called Bud Starker the municipal representative or something. I forget how you referred to him. But anyway, it seems to make sense to me anyway that this would be listed by what they're representing and not by their names, just like your position is and the fiscal agent position. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, this was done before my time. That makes the most sense to me, honestly. I think because it has to do with, so like I said, Michael Miller is technically a voting alternate, and Dr. Story is the voting member. And so by identifying Michael Miller instead of just the public health rep, it's specifically this individual, not Michael Miller or Dr. Story. And so that does create continuity in the discussion. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Is someone ready to make a recommendation?
So are you saying that Michael Miller then is the only one, that situation is the only one like that, and the rest could be done by their position or role? Because I agree with, is it Linda? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes the most sense, as you had said, specifically for your role as well. And that's the case with most documents, right? That they're listed by role rather than person to minimize having to redo them. So anyway, I'm in agreement with Linda. We can do it with all of them, except for maybe that Michael Miller situation.
Is everyone in agreement on that?
Yes, I think it makes sense. And if there is those specific situations that come up, then they're just modified at that time if needed.
With the health department and the city representative, is there a thought that it needs to be a specific, does that person need to have a specific level of authority or role in what they're representing? Because I don't know if more description is needed. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not just anyone in the health department. Probably, it's like what Michael Miller does represent in the health department. His role, or someone like him. Or Dr. Story.
I know for Michael Miller specifically, it was his knowledge and expertise, not necessarily his decision-making power. But for the commissioners, the initial thought that I'm gathering is that there is decision-making power. So I think it had to do more for knowledge and dedication to GROC that they could provide.
Same with the city, you think, as well?
Honestly, I know that this is being recorded, but honestly, I'm not sure why the rotating city rep is on the executive committee. I think because Mayor Budd was very passionate about GROC and had the time to commit to GROC to do those reviews. So I think that was specific to him. Where if we were to put rotating city, I am not entirely sure. I believe it's the mayor of Lakewood who will be coming in to replace Budd in 2026. I don't know if this person would have the expertise or the passion or the time commitment. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with, I think it's people's like time and passion that they were able to dedicate to the executive committee.
That doesn't seem like a bad thing.
But I will definitely bring that up and try to get more. It's something I've been trying to get more clarity on, but I will keep digging at this. Let's go ahead and move into the next item. We'll be talking about asking for delegation of the standard operating procedures manual. If you attended the September meeting, you know that was just awful that I had to go through every amendment individually. So hopefully trying to request delegation to the executive committee is that we can free up more space in the full council meeting. They will review all of the amendments. That way in the full council meeting, we can just do a mass approve or deny. The Jefferson Center for Mental Health, it does have a proposal through either sole source or special projects. Legal will make the determination on that funding mechanism. To fund their Soterra Landing project, I do want to get, I know we have Andrea in the room from JCMH. If people have questions, maybe Andrea can help me support that. But they will be asking the council for roughly $1.5 million to fund the Soterra Landing project. I completely agree with how they came up with the 1.5. Now the question is just they are also asking Jefferson County Opioid Task Force for funding. Are we going to split that? Is it going to be in addition to? That is a question that people have. Is everyone in the room familiar with Soterra Landing, or do you want an overview?
I'd like an overview, please.
Andrea, can I pass this off to you?
Sure. Yeah, happy to talk about it. So the vision for Soteria Landing came to fruition when we were recognizing with our adult 3.5 residential treatment facility, and then at one location, and then our withdrawal management facility at another location that is also tied to our walk-in crisis center, that we would have better engagement and more luck in trying to get clients to transition from withdrawal management to residential. What we know is that with withdrawal management, if someone is at that place to decide, yes, I'd like to go to residential treatment, it can be a scary process. So, if they've never been to our adult residential facility, they may have a lot of questions around, well, what is it? What does it look like? The programming, as well as, when you're in the moment in withdrawal management, you're like, yes, I want to be in treatment, but then you have to get from point A to point B. Changes can happen. You make different decisions, or perhaps, if mom is coming to pick you up and is the one taking you to residential because that's the choice that the client made, perhaps they don't make it to the residential facility. And so we really wanted to have this all-encompassing one-stop shop model where, if someone is wanting to leave withdrawal management and go straight into residential, they literally will walk across the hall and they can be admitted at the time when they are no longer needing withdrawal management. Even while they're at withdrawal management, they can potentially meet the staff, because we'll have a lot of the staff working together. They'll meet the staff, they'll be able to see the environment in which they would be potentially staying for up to 30 days or more. And so we're hoping that that type of environment where we're having all of those services together will help to better engage those folks in longer term treatment. The other piece that we know is that with walk-in crisis, that is sort of the hub, if you will, for law enforcement to bring folks who are either in crisis or who are needing withdrawal management. And we really want the walk-in crisis center to be the one to make the decision. Do they go to crisis, or do they go to withdrawal management? And again, with having the walk-in crisis center at the same location, that person doesn't have to go anywhere. They don't need to leave. They can have all of their services right there in that location. So that is the primary goal for Soteria Landing. And then we will also have our navigation services there. We'll have some outpatient services there. So again, with the idea of someone transitioning from 3.5 down to outpatient, or potentially looking for a different level of care, or, they're needing another type of treatment, we'll have somebody there that can help link them to those services before they leave Soteria Landing. Oh, and the other piece that I forgot to mention, with Soteria Landing, we will be offering a 3.1 level of care TRT, where if someone is done with 3.5 level of care inpatient treatment, but they aren't quite ready to step down to the community, they can go to a less restrictive residential treatment model where they still are staying at Soteria Landing, but they can seek employment, they can go to school. It's just that they come back to a more clinically treatment-oriented a structured evening where they might be in groups or they can do individual therapy, but they're also transitioning back into the community, but it's just a safer environment. So we will be adding a 10-bed TRT program. Gosh, I think those are the main points for Cetera Landing. Any questions?
Will you still operate the crisis center on Wadsworth?
No, so the idea would be the crisis center and the withdrawal management facility, we would no longer occupy that building, and all of those services would be at the Cetera Landing service location.
Is this something for just adults, or will you be using this transition services for the adolescent inpatient as well?
No, so our adolescent inpatient will stay at its current location, which is 421 Zhang in Lakewood. So we'll keep those services there along with our adolescent crisis stabilization unit. And then our adult facility that is currently at Zhang will transition over to Cetera Landing.
Andrea, can I just add a comment?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'm sure this was a big part of the decision-making process, but just operationally and logistically, the proposed new location is going to really help with access for community members and also for all the partner agencies that tend to try to support people in getting where they need to be. It's just really central to the East Jeffco area, and it's still very accessible to the West Jeffco area off 6th Avenue.
Good. Thank you for making that point, Kevin. Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's really, accessibility is the big driving force. We want to make sure that folks, not even in Jefferson County, but in surrounding counties who may need this level of care have access. And that, again, it's the ease of transition. So they're not having to go one place for this service and then another place for another service. And how do they get there? It really is just all encompassing so that the individual can get the care that they need in one location, and we have less risk of potentially losing them because they get distracted with life and perhaps their priorities change once they step back out into the community. So really trying to touch them in the moment, which we know is so important with folks who are struggling with substance use.
I have a question for Chelsea. Just a curiosity thing. How does support of this project, which I think sounds fabulous, but fit in with the RFP process that we just went through?
It is a different funding mechanism. In the September meeting, we did approve several different funding mechanisms that are outside of the RFA process, such as sole source funding and special projects and cross-regional collaborations. So that operates outside of the traditional RFA where people have to apply for funding. So for special projects, it would be like several voting members were interested in the Cetera Landing project during the RFA process, but it didn't score high enough to move forward. So I've been working with that group behind the scenes to address the outstanding questions in their RFA scorecards to create this proposal. And then that goes to the advisory group, who then makes a recommendation. If they recommend to fund it, it would go to the executive committee. We would do some more like back and forth, and then it would go to the full council. There's been some other projects, like Gilpin County was interested in Narcan distributions, Narcan vending machines. There's not a lot of advocacy around Narcan vending machines, but I did connect 2 of those Narcan distribution groups with the casinos in Gilpin County so that the casinos can fund them and get some efficacy data. So I've been working behind the scenes with other applicants who didn't score high enough, but there was interest. For example, the Sober Living Group, we're working with Region 6 on a cross-regional collaboration to pursue infrastructure funding on a sober living collaborative that would include a real-time bed availability counter, Safe Project would be operating and funding that. So there's just kind of like special projects in the background. Whether this qualifies as sole source is entirely up to legal. So it might go through sole source funding. It might go through the special projects funding. That would, again, depend on legal at the time of the proposal. In the interest of time, I do want to see if there are other questions. If there's a preliminary recommendation to pursue the project and bring it back to the advisory committee in November. Does 1.5 million seem reasonable to you folks? Do people have reservations?
I
It's
feel
Kevin
like
again. I don't want to dominate the conversation, but this type of more full-scale resource is something that has been desperately needed in the county in general, but certainly in the more urban area of Jefferson County for decades and decades. And so and honestly speaking on behalf of my agency, I think it's a super important initiative. And to do something like this is going to be very expensive, no matter how we look at it. And so I think it's a very worthwhile project to pursue. And I think that as long as people can just stay realistic about the scale of costs for anything these days, I think it should absolutely be pursued.
Thank you. I've made a note of that. Sean?
I know this was gone over at the beginning, but I already kind of forgot just with all the other information that came out. But you said that this had been approved for funding from another group, and this was additional funding, or can you explain that again?
Yeah, so they have, Andrea, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's like a $30 million fundraising goal for this. And so they did pursue infrastructure award funding through Clear Creek County last year. They were awarded $500,000 for that. And then Clear Creek County committed an additional $30,000 specifically for transportation services. And then they have several funding streams, refinancing, selling off old buildings and assets to meet that goal. I want to say it is outlined. They have a campaign goal of $10 million in fundraising, and they would be getting, it's a $43 million project. And they are asking 1.5 million from the GROC.
Okay.
And they did pursue the RFA process, but they did not advance past scoring.
And is the program just serving Jefferson County?
No, it would be serving all of Region 10. It's located in Jefferson County, but it would be serving all of Region 10 and the neighboring regions.
Okay.
So I have been working with their grants manager on how to approach the other regional councils. So in that first link I dropped, there's like a chart that says like how many clients they serve from each region with a substance use disorder diagnosis, and then how many clients they serve from each region specifically with an opioid use disorder diagnosis. And so my initial thought was, bye, Erica, thank you for coming. My initial thought was to create the percentage of the ask based on the number of people they serve. So that was how they got the 1.5 million from the regional council, is they have 15% of clients are from Region 10.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what I was interested in. So thanks for explaining that.
Brian.
I believe I was a part of that RFP process with Michael Miller for this project, and my concern is that I think it's a very worthwhile endeavor, to echo some of the sentiments in here, and I would like to see it pursued. But there was definitely some pretty major concerns on that RFP as far as the limitations of what they were limitations of the RFP that they submitted, and the vagueness of how that funding is being utilized. So I would be in favor of advancing this to get another just to make sure that it's buttoned up a little tighter than that initial RFP, because there was a reason it was not advanced. So it would just advocate that there is some sort of action taken to adjust that some of the concerns we had from that initial RFP.
Yeah, and I took all those comments, and I was working with Talia, who created the first grant application. And I think we got all of those questions from the scorecards answered again in that first proposal document that I dropped.
Is that something that we can have access to?
Yeah, it's in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Chelsea, I wasn't able to get access to those. I just sent request for permission.
I hate Google Drive, folks. We're with the new website, we're getting a new one. I will work on making sure that that is public.
Thank you.
All right, that should be open now. So I will go ahead and take these comments. We only have 1 minute left. Are there any more hands? I don't think so. And then the last thing was clarifying how the council wanted to fund workforce development. Part of the RFA analysis I presented initially in September was that workforce development is in our strategic plan, but there's like 15 different Exhibit E ways that we can fund workforce development. And I'm trying to clarify what the council means so that we can write more intentional RFAs. So kind of just having that conversation around workforce development. Are there any comments on that last minute? No, we're all just waiting and seeing what they say. All right. I don't want to hold you over. I will work on sending out those calendar invites for the first Thursday of the month, and we will continue this process of, again, just going through the agendas and getting your opinions and making your recommendations. Like I said, you're still welcome to attend the executive committee and full council meetings if you want, but I really wanted to try to be cognizant of your time and try to keep it as short and intentional as possible. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next month, or hopefully at the state conference at the end of the month. Yes. Bye, everyone. Reach out anytime with questions.
Thank you.